Freedom Gardening Seed Bank, July 5th, 2010. The beans are doing wonderful. They've been surviving now for 10 days off of these little pods. They're very similar to an umbilical cord on a baby or an amniotic sac. They have provided all the nutrients these plants need while they dig down into the mulch piles to find water. There's a corn, bean, squash. What I want to talk about is how we've kind of been in a drought for 10 days. We have not had any water. If I were to put this compost tea on these plants, they're so thirsty, they might drink too much and they might burn themselves. So by giving them a big drink of water, about 2 gallons per pile, it gives them the boost that they need so that when I do put the tea on them, they don't burn. The more time I spend up here on the Peace Farm, the more I fall in love with it. Whoever designed this farm back in the day, 100 years ago, was brilliant, because underneath the ground here is basically a giant underground swimming pool. It's an underground aquifer, and because this is all terracotta up here, it gets warm during the day, which does two things. It keeps the roots warm at night so they don't get frost or they don't freeze. That's one advantage to this farm. Another advantage is what those rocks do is heat the water up underground. And as that water heats up underground, at night when it cools off, it steams out of the soil up into these and giving these moisture. So these plants have been surviving on the steam from below, along with the little bit of humidity that has been in the air. So we're giving them all a big drink of water. They're all doing really good. They're all coming up quick. They're all very happy. They're everywhere. The beans are growing especially fast. You see here's a really nice corn. There's another corn and a squash. And almost all of the piles have sprouted. This section in here is all the horse manure piles. And you can see they're coming up everywhere. What I've done is I've gone through here and I've given them all about a gallon of water per pile to give these guys the boost that they need while we're in this little drought spell, because there's no rain coming in the forecast. And if I were to put this compost tea on there, which has not been tested yet, so I don't know what the phytotoxic effects are, meaning I don't know if it will burn these plants or not yet, and as thirsty as they are, they won't care. They'll drink it anyway, which can kill them. They're all doing amazing. You can see there's a bunch of them. Altogether, there's about 1,000 corn, 1,000 beans, and 1,000 squash. Wanted to show you this also because here is what I'm talking about. This little seed right here was a mammoth sunflower seed that was sitting right on top of this pile in the sun for, let's see, we're going almost 14 days now. They have not been watered. There has not been any rain, but somehow that seed has collected enough moisture to open and allow that plant to burrow down into the soil. Again, that's with no rain whatsoever. Here's one of the dry piles. You can see they're all popping up really fine. They seem to be doing extremely well considering they haven't had water in 2 weeks. They're doing amazing. There are beans and squash and corn everywhere. There's a nice corn, another corn, another corn. And they're all just doing really, really good. So I wanted to show you the way that this farm works. It does two things. It keeps them warm so they don't freeze at night, so you get an extra month of growing season out here. And you can see they're all popping up and they're all doing really well. So over here, what I've done is I went over to McMinn's sheep farm. Big maple sheep farm. It's also known as the PA Century Farm. It's been there for 110 years. It's about as organic as it gets. Here is a big pile of the sheep manure. I'm going to fill this container here, 50-gallon drum, with the manure. I'm going to set this above this, hook a pump. You can see I've got a 2-inch NPT hooked to a boiler drain directly to a hose. I'm going to connect a pump to this, which is going to pump water into here, There's small holes in the bottom, along with some cheesecloth and stuff like a filter to keep the chunks from falling through, which will drain into the top of this container, and at about a 1:5 ratio, mix that up with compost tea. That way, all of the hot fertilizer that's in here that would ordinarily burn the plants, because it's mixed with water and oxygenated, it allows the beneficial bacteria, funguses, and bugs to breed and multiply like crazy without transferring any of the hot manure into the water so that the plants won't burn. So, again, in about 48 hours, I'll have 300 or 400 gallons of compost tea, and I will come back here and give all of these a nice drink of the compost tea. Gave them about 2 gallons of water today. That'll get them by over the next couple days, allow them to replenish the moisture in themselves so that when I do put the compost tea on them, I don't burn everything. It probably won't burn them anyway. At least that's what the University of Ohio, University of Pennsylvania, Penn State, they all say that there are no phytotoxic effects to the compost tea when you use sheep manure. Sheep manure is also one of the highest in the beneficial bacteria. Now that'll form a symbiotic relationship, in other words, a partnership. The beneficials that live in that compost tea will live on the inside and the outside, endo and ecto. They're mycorrhizas, bacillus, and trichodermas, and all kinds of really good stuff. They will form a partnership with this plant, and then they will go down and form a partnership with the root system. It'll allow these plants to take up more fertilizer, it'll break down this manure, and it'll allow these plants to have a force field over them. So when a bug comes along and they take a bite of that, they're getting a mouthful of that beneficial bacteria, they spit it out and move on to something else. They don't mess with them. Blight, mold, powdery mildew, all of that gets killed immediately by the beneficial bacteria. Again, you need to see it under a microscope to really understand what it does. It's amazing. They stick their little fingers into the bad mold and collapse it and eat it immediately. That will protect all of these little guys over the next couple months while they grow like crazy and begin to produce fruit next month. So again, we're the 5th of July. The piles are all getting a nice drink. You can see even without any rain whatsoever, I'm still getting sprouts. And last night wasn't humid or anything. They have been sitting out here in the sun for 10 days, sprouting and growing as if they were sitting in water. Again, this farm is amazing. Whoever put this together was brilliant. You can see the grass is bright green and growing even without any water from above. Hopefully in about a week, as we get towards the new moon, we'll get some more rain, and then I won't have to baby these quite so much. And once the roots get established, it's hands off from there on. There's plenty of water beneath, there's plenty of water from the sky, and these will all take off and do really well. So anyway, there you have it. We're the day after 4th of July. Hope everybody had a good time. I know I did. And we will see you again in about 3 or 4 days when the compost tea is brewed. I just wanted to explain to you the way this farm works with the terracotta, the heat, which keeps them from frost, gives you an extra month of growing, the underground aquifer, which gives them natural water and protects them. The heat, it's perfect. It is a perfect farm. Unfortunately, we have to do it above ground. Tilling this field and tilling up all of these weeds is just going to make a mess. This way, we're only dealing with small portions. It's kind of like having 1,000 potted plants rather than an entire row. So there you have it, plenty of sprouts everywhere, everything's doing really well. The weather here is unlike Pennsylvania. Last year this was almost a mud pit this time of year. This year we haven't had any rain. So I'm going to mix up some compost tea. This is just about 300 gallons of plain, deep well water, really good water. And we're giving them all about 2 gallons apiece. And then I'll be brewing that. If you need any, if you want any, you really don't need very much. A gallon will make 5 gallons for your garden at home. So give me a call, 866-4201, area code 619, or you can email us however you want to get a hold of us, and I'll bring over the tea. It's in my truck, so it's mobile. And I'm going to continue watering. And they're already perking up. You can see they're very happy. As they move their leaves closer together like this, that means they are trying to conserve the moisture and dig, because it's hot. Humidity's going up a little bit, but even with these clouds, there's no rain in sight. So we'll see you in a couple days.